Thank you so much, Stephen Mbide. We do have Robert Chigogo, who's an advocate for Zero Hunger, and he's here to address the challenges that have been presented in Nakasero market a lot. Disappointing for us in Uganda, a country that is so fertile. We sing about it in our national anthem. Rich soils, perfect climate, and we are importing tomatoes, onions, which are basic foodstuff, from our neighboring country, Kenya. Rastaman did mention the level of theft that is affecting the value chain, corruption that is affecting the value chain, and food security in Uganda. There's also been mention of the Russia-Ukraine war that has aided the growth of food insecurity over the course of time. And all this as we are trying to come to the SDG number 2, Zero Hunger. Good morning to you, Robert.
Good morning, Priscilla. Did you have something to eat this morning?
Oh, yes, I did.
Are you planning to eat?
I plan to eat.
Dear viewers, did you eat something? Are you planning to eat something? So whatever you are planning to eat, whatever substance, whatever cuisine you are planning to take into your mouth for you to keep existing or living, that's what we call food. Food is a moral right of all born, of every living organ. It must have food. Imagine going days without food. How will you be? We have a saying, an hungry person is an angry person. The remedy to this hunger is food. Mm-hmm. The medicine to this hunger is food. A human body has a stomach. This stomach is demanding. That's why everyone is rushing to food, is rushing to work. The goal is food. Nobody should go to bed hungry. That's what sustainable development goal 2 states. Everybody must have something to eat. Our goal is to end hunger by 2030. However, the UN values people, planet, prosperity, and partnerships. Therefore, it has established agencies like Food and Agriculture Organization, World Food Programme. The motto of Food and Agriculture states, Fiat Panis. It's a Latin motto. In English, we call it, let there be bread. So all throughout, even biblically, we see Jesus performing miracles. We see Moses giving manna to the children of Israel who are demanding. The migrations that have been happening throughout the world from the beginning of the earth, it has always been in search of fertile soils to grow food. So this is an opportunity for us to create awareness, to participate. Our theme is leave no one behind. Better environment, better production and nutrition, and sustainable agriculture. So everybody must be on board. How can we be on board, Priscilla?
When you say everybody, it's a good glossy word on your lips, but the realities are different on ground. We have seen, you know, government entities saying that they're doing something about it, or they have adopted these mechanisms, or they are pushing for technology engagement in terms of agro-industrialization. But then on ground, we're not seeing these realities come through for us to enjoy what we're calling leaving no one behind, better production, better environments, and so on.
It comes back to society. I come from the central region, and growing up, we used to see seed banks in our kitchens, storage facilities, aviage. This culture has phased off. Malcolm Stokes stated, food is not only fuel to the body, but it is fuel to the soul. There is no greater love than the love of food. So it should begin with us before we actually think of government, our homes. We must grow food because it is the remedy to our existence. Food is our medicine, medicine is our food. So it must begin with us in our homesteads to grow food. Government can only provide an enabling environment. I listened to the Nakasero market opinions. they are actually raising a question of farm inputs, the price of farm inputs. So government can subsidize the farm inputs.
But government is looking for money left, right and center. You do have URA most recently that imposed a tax on those that are doing chicken feed, the concentrate and all. So if the people in animal husbandry are suffering, that definitely trickles down also to those that are actually in agro.
Still, it comes back to us as individuals, because with or without government, you need to eat, Priscilla. Dear viewers, you must eat. So meaning you must grow food for your existence. We've seen the uprise of the downfall of many governments. Recently, the government of Sudan, it was about food. There was no bread. The price of bread caused it. We saw the French Revolution. Bread was the issue. Bread is a symbol of food. Bread is a symbol of life. That's why when in the previous month we had a recommendation from someone that eat cassava instead of bread, everybody reacted because bread is a symbol of life.
Okay. All right. Going back to the agro inputs that you referred to, and you were saying that food starts with us before government can come into the picture. How are we going to be able to merge the two of empowering people to keep in mind that they have the control of the food chain value chain, sorry, in that regard? I was reflecting on the fact that so many things are now dependent on government, dependent on external imports that come into the country. Yet we had original agro-best treatments, methods, mechanisms that we used to adopt back in the day that we pride about when you talk about the food stores that we had in different communities, simply because they were adopting these things. Why don't we go back to those, educate the communities on the use of those so that they can have better food security?
Where I come from, the Youth Coalition for SDGs, which actually shares the same indictment as United Nations, to achieve zero hunger, we encourage young people, young leaders, to make sure they engage into the food value chain. We have an example of Shamim Nabuma, a Ugandan, who established a code food chain system. She's now in 17 countries. She left Uganda, she's a medical doctor, but she went into food preservation. She's operating in Dubai, she's operating in... So it comes back to us. I don't actually want to... Government has a duty to subsidize, to reduce on prices, but it comes... Imagine the price of rice. Basmati is at 8,500. Super, which the likes of me can afford, is at 5,200. Wheat, Azam, is at 8,500. And you also need cooking oil. A liter is at 12,000. So you see the gap that we must eat, but the prices are high. So what do? We have to increase production from our homesteads before actually government intervenes. This day actually happens amidst growing tensions, especially conflicts, climate that won't stop warming, international tensions like the Russian invasion on Ukraine. Ukraine is the biggest supplier of wheat. If you look at our local companies like Maganjo, they rely on wheat from Ukraine. That's why when even Ambassador Linda Thomas visited Uganda, she visited Maganjo, because wheat comes from Ukraine. So this is also affecting us globally. But however, what do we have to do? We have to keep producing. Our homesteads have to keep producing. We have to practice post-harvest and pre-harvest handling. The world loses over 5 billion tons of food due to food wastage.
Food wastage, yeah.
I'll give you some statistics. In food and agriculture, whose motto is Fiat Panis, let there be bread, in 2021 alone, stated 193 million people are facing acute food insecurity, leading to starvation and death. We've seen this in Karamoja.
We are seeing this in Karamoja.
Yes, and parts of Teso. And even in Gomba, areas that we ignore, to also take there some of the initiatives. Third of that number are rural food producers. Imagine producing food in March and then in June you have no food. So it comes back to you. And SDG 12.5 indicates responsible consumption of food. Why would you eat 5 kilograms of posho when you are only 2 people in your home?
How do you intend to instill that in a community whereby, by and large, food is in plenty, in all honesty? While you have tomatoes in the background, there's matoke on the other side of the house. The homesteads that we come from initially had food all over. Everyone had food. I was in Rukunjiri most recently, and someone was more willing to exchange a bag of ground nuts for bread. That means we have plenty. So how then are we going to control and sensitize the population about food wastage?
One, I engaged into a project writing. It was called Agriculture Value Chain. Agriculture Value Chain was complementing on agriculture cluster development by Ministry of Agriculture. I did this project with the UNIDO. It was intending to boost post-harvest handling and pre-harvest handling, and also a bit of boosting the SMEs that are into agriculture with some support. So it comes back to us as the individuals, the initiatives that we must add value to the food that we have. For example, you know, sweet potato can make the best flour that can make the same byproducts of wheat. How many people know that? If we can make this sweet potato, if you can turn it into flour, it can give us the same byproducts that wheat gives us. So we must look at alternatives. Matoke is in plenty in certain parts of Uganda, like Rukunjiri you've mentioned. So can we turn this matoke, the abundance of matoke that we have, into flour, so that we can use this flour into other byproducts, so that we can use it during the droughts. So it's very unfortunate that we have fertile soils which are also losing their fertility due to the pH levels and also the climate disaster that is facing us.
All right. The people of Nakasero are getting their produce from Kenya. Why is that?
It comes back to us. The practices. One, you remember Kenya refused our maize some time back. It was because of the infratoxins that our maize carry. It comes back to pre-harvest. Okay, you have the planting season. How do you, between the planting season, how do you practice your pre-harvest? Then after harvesting, where do you lay your maize? That is post-harvest handling. So I think this is where government development partners like Feed the Future of the US mission should come in and provide capacity building to these farmers in regards to pre-harvest handling and post-harvest handling.
Okay.
FAO has also stated globally that children, 160 million children are into child labor. The cause of that, human instincts by nature, by survival, you have to look for food. Uganda is also a statistic. Remember, UBOS has just released the report, the multidimensional index report, indicating that 18 million Ugandans are poor. So this tracks back goal number 1, no poverty, 2, goal 2, zero hunger. So the children that we see who are selling masks, they are looking for money for food. To survive.
Okay. All right, so that now really breaks the chain that we are trying to refer to here, and therefore create remedies and solutions towards. But ahead of the World Food Day that is coming up, how are we intending to address these issues on a national level, on a civic level, on a community level, down to the grassroots?
One, I'm part of the National Organizing Committee for World Food Day. This is now my 3rd year. I think it also gives the reason why I'm here on this platform. I also have a personal indictment that nobody should go to bed hungry. I want to see that every Ugandan has food is a moral right. Access to food is a human right. If anybody ever denies you food, he has denied you your human right. So this comes back to us, everybody. Leave no one behind. We are creating awareness towards this day. This is why I'm here. We have the policy dialogue that is about to begin in the next 1 hour at a higher level. We have the World Food Day celebrations. The politicians who give out food during campaigns, this is the time that they should be giving out food. We have vulnerable communities where I live, in Muyenga, Ogaba. We have Kasokoso. Kasokoso is in Kila. But if you live in Kila or Namugongo, why don't you, this very day, or towards these days, why don't you provide food to that community? You who lives in Muyenga, why don't you take food to Namugongo slums? You who lives in the Buziga Hills in Karungu Gaba, why don't you take food to the people of Katogo so that they can have food? We have vulnerable communities. Also, FAO states 3.1 billion people across the world cannot afford nutritious or a healthy diet.
Okay.
So what does this mean? Malnutrition is very key. I remember where I went to school, that is Kisuri Seminary.
So
they used to mix...
what activities or events are prepared in respect of commemorating the World Food Day? We've
prepared the policy dialogue. We've also prepared the celebrations on my colleagues from Food Rights Alliance, Feed the Future, of the U.S. Mission, Minister of Agriculture. They are all moving around, creating awareness. Right. But it comes back to us, to the theme of the day, leave no one behind. You who is listening, what are you going to do about this? Donate some food. Go to your farm. Improve your post-harvest practices. How do you, after harvesting your food, how do you keep it? Responsible consumption.
That is true. Responsible consumption. And let's take care of one another. Kamu Gwe Muganda is how we would close it. Well, that brings us to the end of our Tech Note this morning, as well as Morning at NTV as a whole. But the challenge is now in your hands ahead of World Food Day. Give out something. Give out food to someone who you know or see actually is going hungry day in and day out. Let's take care of each other so that we can take care of our Uganda. Good day.